Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Jeff Lawson, the host of Signal Over Noise. Today, we're fortunate to have Mark Neace with us, and he's going to tell us all about his firm and what he's been learning about marketing here in July 2026. Mark, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Wow. Okay. Well, I've been in the media content production industry for 35 plus years, but what we're really focused on now, I've had my own firm for 18 years, and it's transitioned into it's transitioned 4 or 5 times, and um, focusing on different things, really honing in, particularly on the video content space, and really the past 10 to 15 years, specifically the B2B content space. And most of that time we were marketing first focused, as far as strategies and content that that we've been producing for our clients. And the interesting thing is, there's obviously COVID changed a lot, and then at the same time, the onslaught of all these different AI solutions and tools, and then the conversation and the consumer sentiment, and and the things around that. And I started noticing that um, we could really have a lot more impact on on our clients and their business if we really shifted the focus on what to use content for, instead of being a marketing first focus, really focusing on how content could be used to better communicate their values both internally and externally, so that there's improvements in other areas of their business that actually can address some challenges that most business owners have, and all those can be traced back to clear communication. But they could really firm up their business and start building value in their business, and then we can repurpose that content for marketing also. So they still get the marketing benefit out of it. But now when they're attracting people to their business with that marketing content, now that is already aligned with all of their internal and external messaging that's coming from, let's say, their customer service people or their salespeople, right? And so that all those touch points now with a prospect or a customer, now that message is aligned through all of those touch points. And so now you get a much better business value from those interactions and from those relationships, by focusing on, it's just a mindset shift on how to think about content, instead of just automatically putting it in the marketing silo first and not really understanding or realizing the impact that it can have on other parts of your business.
Have you coined a name for that?
Uh, I don't, I don't. I'm
No.
kind of working on that. I don't know. It's a framework and a system that I've developed over the past 15 or 20 years, just from the experience of having so many discovery calls and onboarding sessions with clients. And it took my own mindset shift to really make this shift in the focus of the
Oh, I
business as
bet.
well.
I bet. Yeah.
Um, because we were always say, our unique value proposition for 15 years was, let us develop your video marketing strategy for you. And oh, by the way, we can repurpose that content to also have an effect in your business. And so
Can
I
you
had
give
to
it?
make that same
Yeah.
set shift myself, to now be able to figure out how to present that and have, conversations in a different way. Right. So.
Can you give an example where either you've been able to do that, or you've at least you know created a, I don't know, a pitch where you've tried to share that vision with someone that could make that feel a little bit more real for us?
Sure. So, this is something that I've just implemented over the past 12 to 18 months, and it took a lot of work in the background before I ever kind of just, before I ever
Yeah,
launched, the
sure.
new concept and what I'm doing now. And I did that in conjunction with launching my personal brand as well. And there's a really one of the very key themes throughout everything is leadership as well, because it's really about leaders taking responsibility for how they're communicating in their organization or in their team. So it doesn't necessarily have to be an owner. It can be, just a leader, a team leader, or or someone. And it can even be the beautiful thing about it is it does have a greater impact. Let's say if a company has, at least like 10 or 15 employees, and they can be spread between, customer service functions versus sales functions, it's going to have, if an owner really buys into it, the potential is for a greater impact because you have more people. But the same concept and mindset shift can even work for a solopreneur, because for a solopreneur, you may not have a sales force, but if you're focusing on building strategic referral partners, um, you have to communicate the same way with them, so that when they're having conversations with people that they want to introduce you to or refer you to, then they're also mirroring your messaging that person's going to hear when they are referred to you, right? It's more seamless and it builds more trust right off the bat, right?
Right.
And so your strategic referral partners are basically your external sales force, right? And so
Hmm.
you have to apply the same mindset to what content you're sharing with them. In, you know,
Yeah, I
in,
mean it.
in the same way.
Yeah, I mean it
So
takes.
so it
I
applies
think
across different, sizes or of organizations
sure.
or teams. It can be, you can look at it in a team perspective as well. So that's really the beauty of the framework, is because it can be adapted like that. Um, as an example, one of my clients is basically a solopreneur. He runs a business that he took over from his father, who was the partner of the founder of the business. So they're in their 75th year of business. And it's a packaging company. They design and produce packaging for like retail and food service. And, so it's custom branded, packaging.
Sure.
And they do very well. I mean, it's a a 10 million plus year revenue business. But he's basically a solopreneur, right? It's all these relationships that they built over that period of time. But that industry has really changed a lot, particularly in the last 5 to 6 years. And he realized an opportunity to really distinguish himself more in the marketplace by um, reaching out to a different target audience within the verticals that he works in within the industry, because everyone is still kind of doing business in that industry like they were 20 or 30 years ago, and that's really not servicing the end user or the client very well. And so he realized that there was an opportunity there. And so I worked with them and went through this process. There's the first step of the process is what I call a clarity story purpose analysis, where it's um, a s- um, basically an interview of certain questions in a certain order. And the
Hmm.
responses to those questions give me an opportunity to then kind of customize an approach for them. Um, and so we went through that process. He was actually my first paid client for, for this process. And we were able to distinguish through that multiple unique value propositions within each one of those verticals, and custom designed a content plan for him. His main advertising platform is LinkedIn. Um, And so we were able to design basically over a year of content from him, taking each one of those unique value proposition points and creating an entire set of content from that, that can continue to be repurposed. So now we're building out an archive of that, and he has content to post that's just scheduled to go out on a regular basis. And he already has probably 5 to 6 brand new people in his funnel and already closed 2 of those as far as new clients.
Great.
We're like in the third or fourth month, um, of rolling out that content according to the plan that we came up with. Yeah.
You talked about having that be more than just a traditional marketing message to a potential buyer. You talked about taking that inside of the company and actually having it show up in different ways with different employee groups that otherwise marketing generally wouldn't touch. Can you tell
Exactly.
us how that's looking there, with some specific examples?
Well, sure. So, for instance, let's say you might, a lot of it depends on what metrics are important to a business. Okay.
Well, how about this one? How about the packaging company?
Okay. Well, so he doesn't really have employees. So what we did with him is we focused on the people that he needed to have the reps in those verticals that he needed to have a relationship with and educate, about his unique value proposition that would allow them to service their client better, right? So it's a win-win-win, right? So those are basically his external sales force. So the
I see.
content part of the strategy and the development of his content is not only that it's going out on LinkedIn, part of that content is also content that is created specifically for what those people are looking for. Like what is going to make their life easy? What's going to make their life easy is to have a one sheet maybe of each one of those unique value propositions with an example of how it saved somebody money or increased their visibility, or whatever that thing that is important for that person to be able to provide for the person they're providing a service for. So you're giving them a tool to make themselves look good, right? But they
Yeah.
are also promoting, like, if they close that, then they're going to come back and use your supply,
Yeah.
to fulfill that order. So it's looking at each individual business, who that ideal client is, or target is, and then figuring out what they are, what's going to provide the most value to them, what's going to serve them best, right? And then developing that content, around that, of providing that value. uh,
You use some words clarifying their story,
yeah.
and tell me why that's so important and how
So
you go about doing that.
a
Tell
lot of
me,
the
I'm
leadership
gonna re-ask
training that
that
I've
so you're
gone
not. I'm
through,
gonna
and
re-ask that, Mark. Hey,
what's
Mark,
it?
I'm gonna re-ask that so you're
Okay.
not coughing.
All right.
uh, Mark, you used the word clarifying story, and I can tell it's important to you. Tell us what you mean by that and how you develop that with a founder or a executive of a corporation.
So this kind of ties back into the theme of leadership that I talked about throughout everything I do. And so the leadership training that I've gone to, and that I've been able to facilitate, um, one of the an interesting exercise that I was introduced to, and it's, a lot of corporate leadership programs kind of use this, but um, in the environment that I was exposed to it, was within a service organization, a nonprofit service organization. So we were kind of looking at it in a different context. But basically, the game it's like a game. There's a bunch of cards, and the cards have each card has a word on it, and all those words are different values. That are really great. Like you would want to aspire, to have each one of these values, but there's like 20 cards, right? And so the first part of the exercise is okay, choose 10, you know, and then the next part is okay, choose five. All right, now choose three, and then rank those three. Yeah. So, it gets really difficult. Well, as a business owner or business leader, right? Our personal values a lot of times drive really why we're even in the business that we're in. There's some kind of story behind that of, okay, what led me or what caused me to, be crazy enough to be an entrepreneur and be in this business, kind of thing, right? And most of the time those values will drive to a certain extent how they run their business, the type of people they hire, the types of clients that they, want to work with. But a lot of times in an organization, even if somebody is really doing things the right way and really, has the right mindset about it, a lot of times there's gaps between those values and, you go and ask an employee, what's one of the core values of this company, or what's one of the core values of your boss, and they're like, well, I don't know. So there's a lot of people that are missing out on an opportunity of really, what is the one thing or the two things, what are those personal values that drive your business and the way you do business. And then those unique value propositions of, your service, your product or your service. What are those like one, two, or three things? I mean, how does that change people's lives? What impact do those things have? Right. And we really,
Right.
really hone in through this clarity story purpose analysis. We really hone in on what those core values are. And then now we can create a story around that communicates that to a specific audience, right? And in a much
So
more
I lay
concise
down three cards. I lay down three cards that are really important to me.
way.
And these are really big time values. How do you then, I guess, debrief them, uh, uncover some sort of authentic story about them? Uh, because it sounds like, they're sort of undeniably, true, powerful values. But how do you bring their uniqueness to it? How do you uncover that?
Well, I mean, a lot of times those values come from some type of personal story, right? And so it's uncovering that and then getting them to think about, how can I talk about this where there's some type of lesson or impact that I can have on whoever's going to see it, right?
Right.
Yeah, and so a lot of
So like,
like, I mean, with it sounds so simple, but a lot of times it's simply the fact that they don't talk about it. Like, people just, it's the same
right.
thing with, like what a big thing that, people miss out on sometimes is, a lot of these owners or leaders, they're also supporting different uh organizations in the community. They're doing volunteer work, they're philanthropic, but they don't talk about it. And so not only is a missed opportunity to again reinforce your personal values, why are you involved with an organization like this? What does that mean to your company, to your people? But it's also missing out on the opportunity to raise awareness for a cause that you're actually already involved with,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
using your exposure to the business community to draw even more people in, right? And so it's another win-win-win situation that makes for great content and really reinforces, the impact of a business in the community. But a lot of people just don't take advantage of it. They don't realize that that opportunity is there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So why is it so important? Someone's watching this, they kind of get it. Why is it so important for them to reflect on that, uncover it, and share that with their employees and their customers?
Well, I mean, one thing is that over time, you start attracting employees and customers that are already aligned with your values, and then they become more valuable employees and customers to your business. So
Uh-huh.
I mean, the basic answer is it's a blueprint for sustainable business growth,
Uh-huh.
because when the one of the biggest challenges of marketing, I mean, you can throw as much money in a marketing campaign as you want, but one of the challenges is when you do that, if you're not extremely strategic about it, a lot of times attract you attract prospects that aren't actually good customers for you. And so then to sift through that, now you're expending other resources to sift through that to now get down to, okay, who is the, whereas if you kind of take a longer term approach, I mean, there's a time and a place for that, for brand awareness and for inbound marketing campaigns and things. There is a time and place for that, particular in certain industries. And that can be part of a mix, but really those people who take a more longer term and patient approach to it, if you're focusing on creating this other type of content that it is authentic is like the buzzword right now, and I really don't like that necessarily. It gets overused, but audiences are really looking for ways to connect with people. So the more that we're out there and talking about, this is one of my values, this is why, let me tell you a story about that, there is going to be the percentage of the audience that's out there that is going to identify with that because it resonates with them either personally or through a loved one or somebody else that they know that has had that experience, or there's some kind of connection or relation there. Now that's a real connection that could potentially lead to a relationship, or at least maybe that person, 6 months from now, they're having a conversation with their friend, and oh, I saw this video of this person and they were talking about exactly the same thing. You should go look this up on YouTube,
Yeah,
right?
right. I got
From
That's great.
from a marketing standpoint, right? There's really no way to attribute that. I mean, seriously, so the whole attribution thing, there's a lot of ghost kind of attribution that comes from, instances like that nobody is ever going to be able to track. And it just takes the commitment, to do that, and to put and to invest in that type of content, and put it out there over time, and it does make a difference.
Hey everyone, thanks for joining Signal Over Noise. I really appreciate you stopping in to see what we're all about. We've had some really good guests, an average host and me, but I think I'm getting better, and I promise you I will improve my interviewing skills if you come back. I've got some great guests lined up. They're going to really share some interesting things about today's marketing world. I know you'll learn something, so join us again for Signal Over Noise. Take care. Yeah, so are you transitioning into a solopreneurship?
That's basically kind of what I've done, and with a team behind me that can execute on all the content side of things. And
So
then
you get a big project. You
depending
get a
on
big
other
project.
things that a client might need, sometimes they're not really ready to really start producing any content that's going to be external, because sometimes there's issues with part of their digital footprint, whether that's a website or social or things like that. So as we're developing that communication and content strategy, a lot of times we're working behind the scenes on those things to clean those or things up or optimize those things so that when we do start actually producing content, then it's going to work much better for them. So there's some of
So
those things. And so
if I was going to put $150,000 project in your lap, what would be the challenges as a solopreneur that you think will pop up that you'll have to address?
well, I mean, that would be great to have a contract that large. Looking at that number, that would be a very um, that would be a very robust, probably 1 year value of a one
Yeah,
year
yeah, but
contract.
what would be the challenges in delivering for that kind of
The
contract
challenges
as
for
a
delivering
solopreneur?
really is just assembling the right team to deliver and execute the strategy that we come. I mean, it's um, you know, from a content production side of things, content is not necessarily all video, right? We encourage a very robust mix of content, and again, depending on who that client's target audience is, that could be more. There might be media buys that might be part of that. There might
And would
be
that be a
a
challenge as a
weekly PR
solopreneur?
strategy that's part of that. So really the challenge on my end is maintaining those relationships with those strategic partners that specialize in those areas, so that when I need to pull the trigger and pull them in on a project, then all I got to do is reach out to them, and I bring them in on the final strategy meeting with the client, so that they can see everyone that's on their team, and it's a very transparent process. But I take on the responsibility of managing that project for the client, so I'm their single point of contact. So if there's something is an issue, I own that. Um, and then I just make sure that whoever's on that team is executing in the way that they need to, and when we're meeting the timelines. So um I guess it's just from my experience of managing projects and things over a period of 30 years or so. It's not really challenging. You have to be organized, and you have to maintain those relationships with people, because like I have three different directors of photography, so that specialize in unique things, or that I know from my when I'm building the relationship with the client, I may know that this person is really going to be somebody that they're going to be able to interact and work with really well, while we're on set shooting the content, and they're going to be able to understand their vision. And so I might bring that DP in over another DP that I have just as good of a relationship with, but maybe one of them fits a client better. So that's really the challenge of maintaining those relationships and having enough opportunity to work with people on a regular basis to maintain those relationships. So,
Yeah, so let's say you got a Rolodex of, I'll just say 20 to 40 people. You no longer have them in a physical office. Maybe not that you had that many, but near there at some point. But you probably have 30 to 40 resources. How do you stay in the best relationship possible, given that you're a solopreneur? They're in different places, uh, you know, having other relationships. How do you do it with those 20 to 40 people you want to be able to call on at any moment
Mm.
and know that you've got their ear.
I try to provide as much value as I can to them every chance I get. So any chance I get to make a referral or to make an introduction or anything like that, it's just that's really what I focus on is it's how can I serve them best and create opportunities for them so that when I do call them, they're like, yeah, okay, sure, I'll do that for you.
Got it.
So,
Got it. Got it. All
yeah.
right, let's shift again. Now we're going to
Okay.
shift again. Let's talk about AI. AI as it relates to how you're functioning as a solopreneur. How are you using it today?
Well, uh, the interesting thing is part of the whole my rebranding my relaunching my personal brand, um, and deciding that I was going to go solo. I had to
Hmm.
figure out a way to automate as many of my processes as possible, um, so that I could, be able to work with more clients. And so I hired an AI consultant that's a former SaaS engineer. One of the things that I is just tremendously beneficial is that my late business partner, he was the operations side of the business, so he was the very logical, process driven, person in the business, and I'm the crazy, like, creative idea guy. So, but one of the things that was awesome is that he was very focused and tedious on documenting all of our processes and then updating those when we would update them and and kind of change something. So I was left with basically a completely updated SOP for almost everything that we would do, interaction that we would have with a client. And so what I did with my AI consultant is she took all of that data and figured out a way to design all of those processes so that they're mostly automated and then cue me for to review a version of a summary and then
All right,
whatever change.
so
Yeah.
I got to
So
dive in there. Which
it
one is the most valuable to you today?
which
Which AI, whatever she did for you,
well
what is most
so
valuable? What
so we're
single
actually
thing did she do
using
for
we're
you that's
actually
most
using a
valuable?
combination of a lot of different tools and so I have just a super extensive custom GPT and custom Claude that is built around every single piece of content, website, social, everything that I've produced over the past 10 years. That's the basis of what I use for my content. So the voices, right on. Um, and then there's several other tools that she has incorporated, and then other apps via API interaction, but then also some custom agents that she's built to perform certain tasks.
Any of
To
them surprise you how valuable it would be?
the very interesting thing is that what happened along the way while we were designing it. So the main goal behind doing this was to save me time. Getting to certain benchmarks with a client.
Right.
And
And
what we
has it?
realized about 75% of the way through as we were testing, what we realized is that these could be products as well. And so when we were finishing the design, we finished the design as a consumer facing product.
Okay.
And actually, the first one that we have out right now, we created two different versions. So one of them is a very pared down version that's basically a do-it-yourself, that's a really low price point. And then the other one is a full blown product that also includes a follow-up 1 hour one-on-one strategy session. Um, that's the full product.
Right.
Um,
The Lamborghini.
and now I use that as an entry level discovery tool. When I'm onboarding a client, that's the first step in the onboarding process. But again, all of it's all based on 15 or 20 years of processes that we've developed,
Sure, sure. I got
over
that.
that period of time.
Yeah,
So
yeah. All
um,
right. So
that's
where do
how
you
I
see?
see the
Yeah,
real value in using AI is using it to design tools that can really not only make you more efficient in your own business, but there's also opportunities to, create new revenue streams, and things by using it in the right way. I will say
nice.
this, that this every like this first product, so the do-it-yourself version of it, I didn't make that available to people to buy until I gave it away 500 times, and we had 500 people use it and go through it, and we were reviewing every single one of those and making changes and revising it, and it took that many to get it to the point where then I was ready to say, okay, now I'm okay with charging somebody for this and it being completely hands off because we got it to the point where it was that accurate and that good. And then the full version of it, um, the first part of that process, I had over 100 people go through that, and we did the same thing, reviewing it, going back through it, looking at it because it creates a Google spreadsheet of all the answers and then it creates a summary. So we even went through and made sure that the summary was actually reflecting exactly what, or if there was something that wasn't clear, I could go back and look at the spreadsheet and that exact answer that they type in and say, okay, no, it's not it's not doing this the right way. We need to go back and and figure out how to make this better. And that
Hey,
one I'm reviewing. There's three stages where those that summary is reviewed by me, um, and then and
make
then
sure there's yeah.
adapted to as I'm going through the process with the client.
I got you.
So
Cool, cool.
so
Um,
I really think it's if there's a huge AI community, educational community here in the Dallas area that's just really great. A couple of monthly um, events that I go to, and having conversations with people. And what I find is really interesting, at least here in the DFW market, is people are really talking about human first, like human first, AI enhanced, but everything human first, and really talking about ethics, really talking about like responsible use and really how business owners should be thinking about it as opposed to just like a band-aid, one size fits all, fix anything kind of solution. So they're really trying to educate people to kind of think about it in that way of how different tools or solutions can really enhance what they're already doing, but really still keeping that human first element in it. But yeah.
one more question
Mm.
before we're almost out of time. The title of my podcast is Signal Over Noise. The thought being that someone like you, being out there, might be seeing things, feeling things that are shifting, that are changing, and maybe you're seeing things that you're 40 plus years in the business, say that's going to be important down the road, and other people maybe are missing or aren't feeling quite the same way. Do you see anything like that? Do you see any signals out there that you'd like to call out? as you feeling they're going to be very important over the next couple of years?
I do, and I think it's already started to a certain degree, but there's still not a wide percentage of adoption, I think, at this point. And that is regardless of someone's current position or title or company that they work for. I believe that the market has been and will continue to be more and more individualized. And what I mean by that is that individual relationships are actually become much more important, and building trust, in those relationships, even if those relationships are solely online. Um, and that really requires owners and leaders to focus on how are they representing their own personal brand, or even I would even call it a professional brand, not a company brand, but their professional brand. How are they representing themselves in rooms that they need to be in as subject matter authority in whatever topic or area that is most important for them to be recognized in. And so there's, you never know, particularly with, all the mergers, acquisitions, the crazy, shifts that our economy has gone through. Um, no position, no job, no title is safe, really. Um, and I just think it's especially for young professionals that are starting out now, most of them realize that it's really important for them to have a personal brand that that they can represent themselves in a very real way, but with some building that authority and building that recognition in whatever niche that they really want to be recognized in, you know.
Okay, well, you just said something very, very, I think, helpful and informative. So, like me, you've had quite a bit of experience in this, both as a marketer and certainly having your own professional brand. What advice would you give to a 20 something, just starting out, in the world, uh, about building their brand? What do you think are one of the one, two, three most important things for them to keep in mind and not lose sight of?
First thing is think long term. Um,
Okay. Second,
Second, really focus on aligning your messaging with your values.
okay. Third,
And third would be very strategic.
okay. Great. Mark, thank you very much. I appreciate your time today.
Absolutely.
Fascinating conversation, very insightful. We could have spent another hour, but I don't think people have that kind of bandwidth or attention span
Probably not.
anymore.
They should. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, appreciate you being here at Signal Over Noise and hope you come back in the future.
All right. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you. Good day.